Everybody. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you. Okay.
Nice seeing you.
Oh, thank you. Okay, without further ado, here we go.
Shalom, Rabbi.
Hi, Erev Tov.
Erev Tov.
God bless you. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so we're going now to where did we stop off?
We were Gimel.
We're going to Gimel. So what are we doing? The tour, Bit Yosef?
Uh, Bet Yosef. We were just
Bit Yosef Gimel? Right,
down.
right,
We
right,
only
right, right.
finished Gimel.
I'm sorry?
We finished Gimel. We're on
So what,
Dalet.
Daled?
Dalet
Bit
Hey.
Yosef Daled?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sounds good to me.
Dalet Hey really, they're both together.
I see. Right, right, yes. Okay, good. Very good. Right. Okay, I see that. Yeah. Okay, so let's start with the Bit Yosef. Uh, it says like this, right? You got the place by it, guys?
Yeah.
Okay. So it says like this. In all, you want to look at the place, David? You want to look at it?
No,
Okay.
I'm a bad reader.
Oral. Okay, we'll do it orally.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Shein all min alav in all shel yamin techila. As we said, right? First, when you put on your shoes, first put on the right shoe. Okay, this is the sequence. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, because it says in the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan says, Ketfilin, right? I think we started this already. Yeah, we did it in a tour. Like tefillin, kach min alim. Same, tefillin and shoes are the same. Hi. So, what does that mean? Hachita bepek lamei isha yotzet. This is Gemara on Shabbat. Samich Aleph Amud Aleph. The otvinan aleh. So we asked about this. Midatanya, because there's a braita. Keshehu noel shel yamin techila. So it says like this, right? When you put on your shoes, first put on your right one. So this contradicts what Rabbi Yochanan said, which he said that it's like tefillin. That means you got to do the left one first. You know what I mean? So contradiction. Amar Rabbi Yosef. So Rabbi Yosef answers, Hashta the Tanya Hachi. Since it has a bright like this, and Rabbi Yochanan said like that, so let's reconcile both of them, right? Let's do both of them. That's what we said, right? The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Achi Davad, so it's telling you, right, that you can do either way. That's one way to say, right? In other words, both opinions are good. You know? So you can do on your left if you want. You can start with your right if you want. Do what you want. Right? That's the first opinion. Understand? So Tosfot explains, what does that mean? So Tosfot says not exactly what we just said. Right? That there's no machloket between Rabbi Yochanan and the Braita. Rabbi Yochanan Hakikama. Rabbi Yochanan means to say, Afagab the Yamin Chashuba, even though the right side is more Chashub, as we said, right? It's a side of Chesed, right? Linyan Bohen Yad. You got it where we are, Jonathan? We're in Dalet Bit Yosef. Right. So it says, right, that regarding the Lopli Rabbi Yochanan Braita, Hakikama. Afagab the Yamin Chashuba, Linyan Bohen Yad. So even though the right hand is Chashuv, is important regarding the thumb, right? The right thumb, and also the big finger, the big toe, right? What is that called, by the way? The big toe. There's a name for it. The big toe. What is it called? Okay, whatever it's called. So anyway, right? I thought there was a name for it. Okay, so anyway, right? It says also with chalitza, right? The right side is more important, right? So what does chalitza mean? You're releasing the person from levirate marriage. So you got to take off his shoe, right? So that it's also done with the right. Yachol lin all. So yachol lin all shel small. You can also do the reps. He has the option to do the left side if he wants. Techila. Kevan the small chashuba the gabet tefillin. Why? Because small, the left side is chashuv, is important regarding tefillin. Why? Because we put the tefillin on the left side. Ubraita name, and also the Braita Kamashmalan comes to teach you the small chashuvat tefillin. Even though the left side is important regarding tefillin, yacholin or shel yamin tefillin. You can also do the right side. In other words, you have the option, just like I told you, right? It's optional, you know. Do whatever you want, whatever makes you happy. Right? That's the yeah, okay. That's the first way of looking. Amar le Abaye. So Abaye comes and says, it's over there in the Gemara, Dilma Rabbi Yochanan ha matnita la shemiyale. Abaye says, listen, maybe Rabbi Yochanan didn't hear about this Braita. So what does that mean? Why are you trying to say that they're both halacha? Maybe if Rabbi Yochanan would have known about it, he would have admitted that that's halacha. How do you know that that's the case? Right? And if he would have known about it, he would have retracted. Because why by the way would he retract? If Rabbi Yochanan heard a Braita, why would he retract? What? Rabbi Yochanan doesn't know what he's talking about? You know why? Yeah, it's there. So the reason is because the Braita is a Tana, older authority, earlier, and he's a Emorah, later authority, so therefore he should go like the Tana. The Tana. This is the reason why you might think that he should do that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
In other words, it's always like this, the older authority is more authoritative in general.
Close to Moshe.
Right, close to the Moshe Rabbeinu, exactly, There's also, by the way, a different concept that contradicts that, which is called Batra. You know what Batra means? Batra means we paskin like the newer authority, just the opposite.
Okay.
So how do you reconcile these two? No, now we're reconciling something else. They were trying to reconcile this. I'm reconciling something else altogether. You know what I mean? But here's the thing, right? The truth is that there's also a concept back then in the Talmud that we go like the newest authority. So is there a contradiction between the two? No, just like there's no contradiction between Rabbi Yochanan and the Braita, there's also no contradiction between this and that. I'll explain to you how. Okay? So the rule is like this. There's different periods of authorities, There's Tanaim, right, which were in the time of the Mishnah, and then there's Emoraim that were in the time of the Gemara, right? And then there was after that the Geonim, right, which were in the time of in Iraq over there, right, after the Talmud. And then there was the Rishonim who were mostly in Europe, those people, right? Okay? So when it comes to periods like this, the person who's in a later period is not allowed to argue with the former period. That's already like a big drop, in the spiritual level, So we cannot argue with who? With the Rishonim, right? We're Achronim. We are the later, So we cannot argue with the Rishonim, right? By the way, if you are arguing with the Rishonim, like the Rambam or something like that, we're going to take you to Bellevue, have your brain examined, you know what I mean? So if you're okay,
Our generation, our
if you're trying to do stuff like that, oh boy, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Our generation is called
Understand?
right? With later authorities.
We're later, yeah, we're later. We're like the later of the later, the leader of the later.
Last.
Right, exactly, So there, same thing over there. What were you saying, David? No,
Which authority do the Hasidic follow?
No, it's not a matter of Hasidim. This is a general rule for everybody. You know what I mean? Everybody has to go this way. So we're not allowed to argue with the older authorities. So same thing over there. Rabbi Yochanan was an Emorah, and the Braita is a Tana. So he has no business arguing with the Tana. You understand? So that's why the Gemara says, right? If he would have heard that, he would never argue with it. You know what I mean? Pashut. The truth is that I have an answer for that, by the way. I'm not going to tell you, but let's go on. Because maybe the Gemara is not going to use that, but there's actually an answer. You know what the answer would be? Oh, you guys are getting the best stuff here, the best material. So the answer would have been, I could have answered that. You know what the answer would have been? Yeah, Rabbi Yochanan is also Tana, even though he's an Emorah. There's an answer like that. You know what that means? He's also Tana.
So
He's Emorah. There you go. Oh, there you go. You got the sharp guy over there. No, say.
In the verge,
On the cusp.
Right, he's on the border. You understand? He's on the borderline. So a person who's on the borderline can be also considered like before. You understand? He's right on the border there.
Why is that? He learned by them?
Because he learned from them. You know what I mean? He's not so far away. He's right next to them. You know what I mean?
One generation?
Yeah, one generation. You
So
know.
his
So what's the
rabbi-
big deal? You know?
His rabbi was a Tana, basically.
Right, exactly. Who was the rabbi? Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, right? Who was a Tana. You understand? Oh, there you go. Right. So, but the Gemara didn't resort to that yet. You know,
Does he have more
we're
weight?
maybe saving it for later.
In that case, does he have more weight in general? In the time of the
Yeah,
later
the truth is, Rabbi Yochanan is very authoritative. You know what I mean? In the
Yeah.
Talmud, yeah, very, very much.
He's
you
like
know?
the sign of the Tanaim.
So
right?
I'll tell you how big he is, by the way. How big is Rabbi Yochanan? That Rav and Shmuel were in the same generation as Rabbi Yochanan. I mean, who were also very big people. You know what I mean? These were the Gedolei Ador, by the way. There was 3 Gedolei Ador. There was Rabbi Yochanan, there was Rav, and there was Shemuel. Right? These were the 3 big people. So Gemara says, right, if Rabbi Yochanan is arguing with those 2, always halacha was like Rabbi Yochanan. Can you imagine? Oh, so there you go, right? Rabbi Yochanan was a big man. He had big shoulders. This guy. Understand? So it says in the Gemara many times, by the way, when Rav, who's also right the same generation, is arguing with the Tana. So Gemara says Rav is also Tana. Right? He's right on the border.
Right.
So you could say the same thing for Rabbi Yochanan as well.
I see.
You understand? It wouldn't be too
These
far
three
away.
great people, their teachers were all Tanaim, basically.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
All these three people in that generation,
Right.
their teachers were Tanaim.
Right. Exactly. They
So
all
that's
learn from
why
Tanai.
they-
They all learn
Okay.
from Tanai. Yeah. So you know what that means? They all learn from Rabbi Nasi, basically, more or less, right? That's what it was,
basically.
more or less. Okay. So, by the way, if you want to know, according to Kabbalah, says the Arizal. I heard this from Rabbi Safi. He told me Rabbi Safi is a big man. He's still alive. He's big in Kabbalah. Also, many things he's big, but he said, that according to the Arizal, these three people, right, that we mentioned, came back in Gilgulim. Who are they, by the way, the Gilgulim? So they say, right, the Arizal says that Shmuel, Rambam was the Gilgul of Shmuel. Rambam. Okay. And Rashi was the Gilgul of Rav. Okay. And Rabbeinu Tam was the Gilgul of Rabbi Yochanan.
I see.
That's okay. Go figure. Okay, you want to go figure? I'm sorry. No, because it's a Gilgul. That's already a different system. You know what I mean? That system was already broken. We're talking about those guys, not the Gilgulim. You know what I mean? Those guys. That's the way it was. By the way, what's interesting, right? That just like Shmuel was a doctor, the Rambam was also a doctor. So he came back to the same profession. You know what I mean?
Usually
They were both doctors.
Usually you do.
And by the way, also, just like the Rambam was a great astronomer, he knew astronomy very, very well. You can see, by the way, by the writings that he has.
Yeah.
He was extremely, extremely expert in astronomy. Shmuel was also like that, So they had a very big connection, these two. You know what I mean? The same product, basically,
soul.
right?
Same soul.
It's a whole big thing, By the way, the Arizal says also something else. He says, all these big chachamim, they're a part of Adam Arishon, because Adam Arishon includes everybody, the neshama of Adam Arishon. You understand? So they're all like a little part of him, of Adam Arishon. So says the Arizal, these things are beyond us, we don't understand these things, but he says that the Ramban was the right pe'ah of Adam Arishon, and the Rambam was the left pe'ah. Go figure what that means, right? Go figure it out. Okay, this is where they came from. Okay, big people. Can you imagine such a thing like that? Incredible, right? So, by the way, why was Ramban on the right and the Rambam on the left? Because Rambam was mostly in halacha, which is like left,
Right.
dinim, and the Ramban was a mekubal, also. So he was on the right side.
Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, can you imagine?
Always arguing.
Rambam.
Yeah, it's the same thing, same whole, the same thing, Okay,
Rambam's the king,
recurs
bro.
again,
Rambam's the king.
Rabbeinu Tam and Rashi, it's like always machloket between them, Rashi realized that, when he was holding him in his hand, when he was a little
as a
kid,
baby?
he was his grandson, you know what I mean? So he knocked off his tefillin, So he says, oh, this guy's going to argue with me about my tefillin,
He said that?
That's what happened, right?
Really?
Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin and Rashi's tefillin. So according to Rabbeinu Tam, Rashi's tefillin is pasul. So he knocked it off, That was the sign.
Wow.
He knocked him off.
But there was no hard
It's not
feelings.
lashon hara.
There were
Don't
no,
worry.
there were no
There's no
hard
lashon hara. We're learning Torah. This is not lashon hara.
there were no hard feelings though, right?
Yeah, he realized, Rashi was a deep man. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He realized this guy's gonna be my enemy. In
It was
halacha.
hard, yeah.
He's gonna wipe me out.
Rabbi,
You know?
argument goes before Russian.
I'm sorry. Just like what the sign is, by the way. What happened to Paro, right? Moshe Rabbeinu came and knocked off his crown.
Right.
Same thing. He knocked off my crown.
That's a sign.
You understand? I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No, it's just I've heard the argument between
Yeah.
between the Russian Philippines went before Russia.
Of course, yeah, of course. But this is the one that we name them by their names because in the Talmud that's how it appears, on the page, on the Gemara. You have Rashi over here, you have Rabbeinu Tam over here. So we call this Rashi, we call this Rabbeinu Tam. But the truth is, it was before that also. Yeah, of course. It goes back to Har Sinai.
Does that mean Moshe Rabbeinu wore two different pairs of tefillin?
The Kubalim say that, the Ben Ish Chai says that.
What, like the doubles?
By the way, yeah, it's not so clear. The Rabbi Maran doesn't agree with this. He says, "Where do you get this from? Two pairs of tefillin? What are you talking about?" He says there's no proof for that anywhere. Whatever. Okay, I don't want to get into this now, right? It's a whole discussion.
Complicated, yeah.
But anyway, you understand? So here we are, right? Rabbi Yochanan and the Braita, right? So let's see where this goes, right? So I give you one possible way of answering the question. So let's go on. So he says, if he would have heard the Braita, he would have retracted, as we said, right? And even if he did hear it, let's say he did know it. Maybe he holds like that's not the halacha. In other words, he's allowed to argue, like you said, right? Rabbi Yochanan is allowed to argue with that. You know, he's also Tana. That's exactly what it's telling you. Or, right, there's another thing, which is that maybe he has another Braita, which, says differently. It's also possible. Yeah, it's also possible. Whatever it is, right? You get the idea. Okay, so, so it says, therefore, you know what, let's make like a shara, like a, right, let's make a compromise, right, between them. Right, so what do we do? Umanu, so what's the compromise? How do we compromise? Umanu, bo bread ravina, hecha. Avid, how do you do it? So what you do is you put on your right shoe, don't tie it, the siem dismale the katar, and then you put on your left and tie it. So this way, but you're putting on this one first, but you're tying this one first. So you're doing both opinions. Understand? Right. You got it, David. I'm sorry. That was the first answer. Now we're getting to a different answer over here. Gemara says no. Let's go with this. Let's make a compromise between them. You know what I mean? Let's do it this way for putting on your shoe, and this way for tying your shoe. As I said, right, I defeat that system because I wear loafers. So
yes,
I was able to defeat the whole system. Okay, good. Okay, right. I don't know what they're going to tell me Shabbat, by the way. Why'd you wear loafers? You didn't do the opinion of the other opinion. You didn't do.
I mean, most shoes today.
Okay, that's a good question. I don't know. I hope they don't ask you that question. When they get to Shemayim. Maran Rabbi used to say, he used to tell us. It was kind of like a joke, but when a rabbi tells a joke, you have to take it seriously. You know what I mean? Even if their jokes are serious. You know what I mean? So he said, because there's some truth to it. You know what he said, right? If you wear only the tefillin of Rashi and you don't wear Rabbeinu Tam, says when you get to Shemaim, they won't allow you to the yeshiva of Rabbeinu Tam. They're gonna tell you, oh, you didn't wear his tefillin? Oh, get out of here. Go back to the yeshiva of Rashi. We're not gonna accept you over here. Too bad. You can get into the Georgian shul, but not 108. You won't get over there. You won't get over there. You didn't do Rabbeinu Tam. Oh.
So they wear too.
That's what the rabbi said. I used to say this.
Switch it to.
So therefore, the custom is right that a person who's God fearing should wear both. As the Shulchan Aruch says, it's like 50-50. There's really no like clear halakha. We don't really know what the halakha is. So therefore, right, the custom by the Sfardim is that once you get married, you buy a pair of Rabbeinu Tam, God bless you, and you're gonna put on that too. That's the way it is, right? Not like over here, some ignorant people, they put it on before they get married. That's not our custom. They're going to custom of Breslev. What has to do with us? We're Breslev. What's the connection?
You're not allowed to put it up before you're married.
Halachically, it's not that it's not allowed. The custom is like that. You know what I mean? Why, by the way, is the custom like that? Because they say Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin is so holy. It's more holy than Rashi. According to Kabbalah, it's more kadosh. So therefore, having bad thoughts with Rabbeinu Tam is like a big sin. So therefore, they say, until you get married, bad thoughts in your head. So don't put it on.
Rashi too sometimes.
Right, but as we said, right, the damage with Rabbeinu Tam is greater. You got to put on something because you're obligated. You know what I mean? You can't go with nothing. Right. But why do a chumrah? And it comes out, you lose.
Sorry, how is Rabbeinu Tam have more kiddushat than Rashi?
Oh, that's going to Kabbalah. I don't know. Maybe the Arizal will come to you in a dream and explain to you tonight. I don't know. According to halakha, you're right. According to halakha, one is wrong and one is. The problem is we don't know which one. From Safek, we have to put both. That's the halakha.
What if you were Rashi all your life and then you go to Shammai and they say you were wrong? You never put tefillin in your life. What do you mean?
That's what we're worried about. That's the whole point. You know what I mean? That's why you got to put on both. Because we don't know.
What if a guy is not married and he dies before his time and he never wore Rabbeinu Tam? He's done.
That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. So I mean, the truth is that we're not so worried about that really.
Okay.
But a person who's Baal Nefesh, somebody who's God fearing, you should be choshesh from that. You should be
afraid.
Yeah, afraid of that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But a person who's just a regular yid, somebody like that, like the dinner guys downstairs, those guys. No, that's okay. For them it's okay. Why? Because they're not really. They don't expect us so much from them. You know what I mean? That really, it's true.
Yeah.
If you're Ben Torah, they expect more from you. You know what I mean? You can't
Which
pretend
guys
like
are we
you.
talking about?
I'm sorry.
Which guys are we talking?
Oh, they had like this dinner thing going on downstairs, the dinner party, whatever. So they call it a cola, I call it like a dinner party, whatever. The truth is, there's something good about that too. They're doing kiruv, as I told you. They're doing
Yeah,
kiruv,
absolutely,
It's a
absolutely.
kiruv thing, But the problem is when they call it a cola, it sounds like a little ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, takes away
you're
from
asking me
the
to come
real
down there, and get into that dinner party, you have to know everybody's got their place in life. Yeah, that's the way it is.
thing.
Okay,
Absolutely.
whatever. God bless them.
Is it just a party or?
No, they do some divrei Torah also, you know what I mean? But it's
Yeah,
basically, to fatten your stomach, you know what I mean? I mean, whatever. It's God bless
You
them.
mean the one that Joseph goes to?
Which Joseph?
Our Joseph, Shabbos.
What you're talking about? Yossi?
Yeah,
Yossi?
Yosef.
Yeah, he's going there. Yeah, he's going there. Yeah. But they
No.
shut that down. They had
Oh,
that
they
was
shut
that was
it- okay,
that was.
okay.
Now they're doing a new dinner party. That was the old dinner party.
So how do you know that?
Don't
they
worry, it's not lashon hara. Don't worry, don't
No,
worry.
no, I don't care
We
about
we
that.
know those rules. Don't
Is
worry.
it
We
happening
learn that.
now?
We
Is
learn
it
that.
happening now?
I'm sorry. No, it's only on Tuesday.
How do we know that they
Yeah.
don't
Next week?
feel the same way about us?
We don't care about that. We care about what Hashem
That we're just
wants
a
us to
bunch
do.
of youths.
That's why we go according to these rabbis. Rabbi Yochanan Breita. We're going according to that, not according to what these Amaratzot say.
No, I'm just saying, because
That's the way it is. Okay, God bless them. God bless all of them. They're all doing something good. Baruch Hashem. Just everybody has to know his place. You know what I mean? Where do you belong? Do you belong up here or do you belong down there? You have to know who you are. You have to know what you want. That's all. Okay, God bless. So anyway, right as we said, make a compromise, as we said, right? That's the best thing to do. That's the halakha. That's how the Shulchan Aruch paskins, by the way. We're going to see. Shulchan Aruch, that's what it says. Okay, so let's go on a little bit. Okay, so he says, Amar Rav Asher Chazina le Rav Kahana de la Kafid. So Rav Asher says, you know what? I saw Rav Kahana, but he wasn't particular about these things. In other words, he did whatever he felt like. It's interesting. We don't pass like that, but that's what he said. Rabbeinu Katab Rav Nachman Rav Yitzchak. Oh, so says the Baran that Rabbeinu, who's Rabbeinu? The two, right? He paskin like Rav Nachman by Yitzchak. What does that mean? Make a compromise. Like the Amar Yerei Shamayim Yitzed Deshtem. So therefore, what it says, right, that you should do both. Aval haposkim and shimitu din zeh. But he says, the poskim, the other poskim, besides the tour, they left this din out. He says they didn't really put it in. They didn't. So what does it imply? That they don't hold by it. In other words, they're not particular. Just like we said, right? According to Shmuel, right? Shmuel was not particular about it.
Right.
That's interesting. Okay, so Ishmitu din zeh. Benireli. So it's a Simaran says, seems to me, Shatam mishum desvila lehu. It seems probably because that they hold. Yosef. That's why. What does that mean? That they're not particular. In other words, you can do either what you want.
Yeah.
That's what they hold like. Right. So the question is, why did Maran go like the tour and not like those poskim? That's the question. Now we have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Right. That's what Rabbi Asher said, right? I saw Rab Kahana. He wasn't makpid. He wasn't particular about it. So it's mashma, right? It implies the Rab Asher, right? Who, by the way, Rab Asher is an important guy.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because he was the redactor of the Talmud. He was the last word there, the last voice.
Oh yeah.
The last psak halacha was made by him.
Tanaim.
Right. Yeah, Rab Asher. Rabina Rab Asher.
You don't see him. Right.
Right. What that means is that he put the last word. He compiled the whole thing. And his psak was the last. Last
Stamped
word.
it.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. Right. Yerushalmi was Rabbi Yochanan. Okay.
Rabbi Yochanan was not in Babli.
No, he was in Israel. He was an Israeli guy.
Mm.
Israeli. He was Israeli. All right. So let's go on. So look what it says, right? Since he's Bata, what does that mean? He's the last generation, right? So we pass him like him. Oh, so now let's get back to that, right? Let's reconcile. Right, as we said, right? We're not really supposed to argue with the former authorities, That's what we said, right?
Right.
But that's talking about it's a different period altogether, Emoraim, Tanaim. So there, don't touch them, Don't get involved with them. You know why? Because those people are so authoritative, much more than we are. We're like a piece of, excuse my English,
Yeah.
That's what we are compared to them. You know what I mean? We're nothing, like we're nobody.
Why do
You know what I
we
mean?
argue at all? If things have been established.
Because there's different opinions, The Torah is not a simple thing. Reality, you know what it is? The Torah, it basically describes the world, how it's built, So just like the world is not a simple place, the Torah is also not simple. You know what I mean?
But this guy last week, he told us that
Yeah.
this guy put everything together.
Oh, yes. It's true what you're saying. He put everything together. So what's the answer? You have a good question.
Yeah.
You know what the answer is? The answer is that even if everything is put together, you still have to learn all the opinions. That's our job, as Jews. I mean, we have to be osek b'Torah. What does
All
that mean?
sides.
We have to. You're right. You can't understand the Torah until you get all the sides. You know what I mean? You got to hear all the sides.
But at the
You know,
end,
and
you have
then
to follow,
You have to follow the halakha. Yes,
Yes.
the halakha. But you got to hear all the sides because that's what makes you. You know what it is? It's like I'll tell you something really powerful. It's really much more powerful than you think. Okay, what it means is like this. Since basically, right? What does the Zohar Kadosh say? Kadosh Baruch Hu looked inside the Torah and he made the world from there. So the world is a product of the Torah. You know what I mean? That's what it is. You know what I mean? So in other words, whatever you learn why is it so important to learn Torah? Because whatever you learn in the Torah, you understand how to function in the world because it's one thing. You understand? It's one. So if a person doesn't know Torah, he's Amaretz. Why do we hate so much Amaretz? Why? Because he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't understand how the world works because he didn't learn Torah. Amaretz, But that's why you look down at him. Yeah. Come on, like what? You never learned?
Yeah.
So you know what it is? When you're learning the opinions of these people, these chachamim, like each one has his own opinion, you're learning one facet of how the world works.
Absolutely.
You understand? So once you that's why it's so important. You're learning a kitzur, you're missing all that. You understand? So you're defeating all the purpose of learning by learning kitzur books. That's why we make fun. Yakut Yosef. We don't mean to make fun of Yakut Yosef. Yakut Yosef is a good book. But if you're learning only that and you're not learning the Rishonim, you're not learning the early authorities, you're not learning the Talmud, you're not learning the Bet Yosef, you are still Amaretz, even though you learn Yakut Yosef. Yes, you are Amaretz. Thank you. God bless you.
So what do we follow? What do you follow?
So what we follow is, that's in every generation, there's the Gedolim, the leaders of the generation. You have to follow whatever they say.
And who do we have in this generation?
You know who my rabbi was. That's it. He was a Gedol. He was a Gedol of the generation.
Yeah, but he didn't write this.
He wrote also he wrote some bigger things within this. If you knew what he wrote, if you only knew.
In general, all Sephardim.
Yeah. Yeah, the truth is the Shulchan Aruch was accepted by all of Am Yisrael. You know what I mean? The Shulchan Aruch was But what happened was that after that also came new things, that afterwards. And things changed, things have changed after that. So in that period, that was the final word, which was accepted. But then, things started to change again.
Right.
Because what happens is the halacha fluctuates, There's different opinions, and every generation, there's a book by Rabbi Yitzchak Hutner, who was a big Rosh Yeshiva, Ashkenazi rabbi, He wrote something interesting about this. You know what he says? That the Torah, as we said, right, is a conglomeration of different opinions.
Right.
Okay? They're all true because they're built, the world is built on those opinions.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the question is, what's the halacha, right? We have to do a certain way, right? One way to go. So he says, right, that what happens is like this. Each generation has a different quality. Bechina, it's called, in Hebrew.
Yes.
Different quality. So because of that, since that generation has a different quality, the halacha can change. In other words, we go now according to a different posek. Because the quality of this world in this generation is not like that posek. Now it's like this posek. You understand? That's why we used to put Rabbeinu Tam, in the tefillin. And now we do Rashi all of a sudden. Why did we change? Because the Bechina has changed. You understand? That's the whole thing.
When did that change?
It changes every generation. Every generation has a
No,
different.
What was the last time it changed?
It's changing all the time. You understand? That's the whole thing. Every generation is changing. It's fluid. Yeah, that's what it is. So, I'm sorry. All of halacha is fluid. Yeah, it depends on it depends on many factors. So how did it happen? By the way, that we had a Shulchan Aruch, and all of a sudden, came the Kabbalah and changes all kinds of things.
Yeah.
That's the reason why. This is exactly the whole point, right? How did that happen? It wasn't supposed to happen like that, technically speaking, right? But it did. So there you go, right? Again, same thing, So, but a person has to know, right? When do we do like the Kabbalah? When we do like the Talakha?
When you're osek b'Torah, right?
Yeah.
You can work within the confines of the halacha with different.
Yeah, you have to
right?
know how to work with the confines and make a decision.
Yeah,
you have to know. As we said, right? There's a general rule. We go like the halakha when there's machloket between Kabbalah and halakha.
Right.
The general rule is we go like the halakha.
Right.
But there are exceptions to the rule. What does that mean? For example, right? If the minhag already became like the Kabbalah, everybody does like the Kabbalah. There are many things like that. We're going to get into that. So then we do like the Kabbalah. You know what I mean? That's the thing. The minhag is different now. Has changed.
No,
Yeah,
Rabbi,
yeah.
you just said you cannot argue with the previous generation. So that we accept that.
So now here's the thing, right? Regarding the generations. So as we said, right, the periods, right? You're not allowed to argue with them. So what does that mean? Whatever they said, right? Those previous ones, you cannot say that they're wrong. There's no such thing like that. That's what we're trying to say.
But you can
Understand?
do the halacha different.
Well, the halacha was already decided in Shulchan Aruch. You understand? So now, in order to, you can't really change that anymore, except where the trend, of the thinking of the new generations has altered that.
So you can use any of
Understand?
these opinions.
So every generation, things are new things come up, new things come up.
Right.
Well, if it's new things, that's one thing. But if you're saying like
Yeah.
different variables, like circumstances, the world.
That's also true. Yeah, there's a lot of variables coming in.
You said to me that the wisdom of the rabbi
yeah.
has to apply in the situation where you choose.
You have to know the system,
You're
right?
in
There's
the
rules.
halacha,
There's
you're
rules.
second
Yeah,
Torah,
there's
right?
rules.
And also in your case,
There's rules how to do it.
situation. Like this
Yeah, there's
guy
rules,
is
yeah.
different than this guy.
Right. So you have to know how to do that, and that's what the rabbi taught us, Maran, he trained us, not to read Yalkut Yosef, and they say, oh, you arguing with Yalkut Yosef? Yeah, I learned it, and I learned it differently. I'm sorry, what can I do? I'm sorry, what can I do? What do you want to do? Shoot me? What can I do? That's my job, You know what I mean? So that's the way it works. But here, I want to explain to you, right? As we said, the rabbis in the former generations, we're not allowed to argue with them. So in other words, if the Tanaim decided a certain halacha, right, there's a certain way. The Amoraim, we're not allowed to argue with that. They're not allowed to change that. Okay, but there's also concept of Batra, the last generation.
Yeah.
So here, what does that mean? That it's the same period, but it's a newer generation. So there, you should go like the newer rabbi.
In the same period.
Right, the same period. Why is that? Because he's closer to your bechina, to your quality, since he was in your generation. You got it?
Right.
That's the whole thing, That's why you have to go. The Gemara says, right? You have to go according to the gadol of your generation. Don't go like nostalgia, Oh yeah, in those days it was so good, nostalgic, What nostalgia? Every generation has their rabbi. Yeah. So why are you now skipping back to two generations? Like there's these people who are sickness, they have sickness, They want to do everything like Ben Ish Chai. Why Ben Ish Chai? What, Ben Ish Chai is the rabbi of this generation? There's different rabbis.
Right.
So why do you want to do like Ben Ish Chai? You got some kind of bugs in your head, some kind of.
How do you know who's a fake and who to trust?
It's also a very good question, by the way. And the answer to that is like this, that if he's accepted in the Torah world, like in other words, people, you can see, that a person is, accepted because they can see that he's a great scholar, So, you can't hide that, when you're Amaretz, when you're ignoramus, you understand?
Yeah.
You can see the guy's ignorant, like the way he talks, what I mean? The way he says things. So,
who do we have today?
Maran passed away, Rabbi. He passed away. Who's right now?
Next one's coming.
who's right now? There are also big people today, but the truth is, that we don't have people on that level anymore. In other words, those rabbis that passed away,
You told me that he was so great.
Rav
because
Eliashiv,
He was like a Rishon almost.
like Rav Eliashiv, like the Tzitz Eliezer, like Rav Moshe Feinstein, Rav Vadia, these people, We don't have anybody on that level anymore. That level is already gone,
Well, it takes like
So
50
maybe
years to
somebody
build
will,
something.
maybe somebody will come back,
It takes 50 years
yeah,
to
somebody
make
will be
something
born,
out.
somebody like that on that level. Right now, there is nobody on that level anymore. But it doesn't mean, by the way, doesn't mean, that you shouldn't listen to them. You have to listen to the rabbi of your generation. Because if you have a question, you know what I mean, and you don't know what the answer is, go to the rabbi of your generation and ask him that question.
Right.
If you don't know how to paskin yourself, if you learn how to paskin, so paskin yourself, If you don't, that's why you got a posek. Go to a posek and ask him. Don't go to these money rabbis. These,
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Well, what
Understand?
would you want to ask?
Yeah, of course.
That's-
Yeah.
100%.
Don't feel. Yeah, it's the way it is.
Rabbi, what would you want to
Yeah.
ask? Anything today
Yeah.
that you can't follow from a recent book that's been, amended?
Because there's contradictions. There's machloka. There's different opinions. So you don't know what to do. Understand? Or you don't know where to find the halacha. You have to know how to research.
I have a question,
Not everybody
Rabbi.
knows how to do the research.
There's no answer.
I'm sorry?
There's no answer for your dilemma that you may have.
So you have to know you have to be trained for that to
That's
find
it.
the answer.
I'm sorry, Rabbi. Let's say you have a
You know what I mean?
question. You have a question. Your
Yeah.
rabbi passed away.
Yeah.
What do you do? Search?
I know how to do it because I've been trained.
Right.
Yeah.
But if he was alive, you would ask him, basically.
It's a good question. Would I ask him if he was alive? And the
Well, if
answer
you
is
had a
probably no.
dilemma.
At this point, I probably wouldn't ask him. You know
You
why?
have
Because
to
I know how to
certain
do it
point.
myself.
Right.
In other words, the whole point is, by the way, in life, the whole point of every Jew, Says the Rambam, every Jew can be like Avraham Avinu, get to the same level as Avraham Avinu, you know. So you can be also Avraham Avinu, you know. You don't have to find some other Avraham Avinu. You yourself become. You know what I mean? So if you can, you know, make yourself Avraham Avinu. You know what I mean? If you can do that, if you have the guts to do it, you know, what does that mean? Go bury yourself in yeshiva, you know, don't come out, don't do work, don't go to college, right? Don't do any other, you know, bury yourself in yeshiva for 30 years, and then you'll come out and you'll know what to do.
Right.
What's the, you know, it's not a secret, you understand?
Yeah.
There's no other way to do it. There's no magic tricks. You understand?
Hard work.
You have to go and then bury
I'm
yourself.
assuming when you have a dilemma or you have a question
Yeah.
and you don't know how to go about something.
Yeah.
You go back to.
You gotta go to the sources. Yeah, you gotta go to the sources, of course. That's the way it works, you know. I'm doing this every day. This is my life. You understand? People asking me questions coming, you know. I have to
Right.
research all kinds of things, you
Yeah,
know.
you said that many
So you have
times.
to know how to do the research. You have to know how to do that. You know, you have to be trained for that.
Their methods.
Or, you know, there are some very brilliant people, you know, who know how to train themselves. Very rare, you know.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
are some people like that.
All the
They
time.
train themselves to do it. You know, but this is like somebody, you know, who's really like on the ball, you know.
One-
In other words, he doesn't really have like a Rebbe. He didn't learn from like certain Rebbe, but he just like he picked up a little bit here, a little bit there, you know, like he you know, ad hoc, you know, like he
Yeah,
improvised,
yeah, yeah.
you know, he improvised, you know, and he you know, he got some that happens by the way,
Yeah, it
sometimes
happens.
you know. As I told you guys, right, that even though the Ben Ish Chai was a Talmid of Rabbi Yosef, but in Kabbalah he became bigger than him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How did he do that? What happened?
You're just a
You know?
great man.
Because he surpassed him. You know, he was able to surpass his Rebbe. Sometimes it happens that, you know. That's the way it is. you know?
The quality of the person is
Yeah.
different.
So then, you know, when there was questions in Kabbalah, they used to come to Ben Ish Chai, not to Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef, he himself used to come to
He
Ben Ish
wasn't
Chai.
upset.
I said, no, he was to come also.
Oh,
I mean, he was
really?
also coming. You know, there's a story like this. Maran told us. You want to hear a shocking story, by the way? Knock you out. You know, I'm sorry if you have nightmares tonight if I told you this, right? Okay, so here it is, right? This was told to me by Maran. Maran told us the story. Because they were in Iraq, you know, and Maran is also from Iraq.
Yeah, you're right.
So he knew the story very well. Okay. So the story goes like this, okay? That Rabbi Yosef, okay, was getting dreams at night, you know? And, you know, they're like very scary, like, you know, recurring dreams, you know, like recurring. You know?
Yeah.
So, you know what they're telling him? They were telling him, you in your last lifetime, you know, you were a big Rasha. You know? So they told him, you know, who he was. You know who he was? They told him in the dream, you were Achaz, you know. This was like a wicked king, you know, Achaz, who did Avodah Zarah, all kinds of things, you know. So he says, you're Gilgul of this, your neshama is from him. They told him, you know. So he was being startled by this, you know, like he was frightened, you know, like, oh my God, you know, like I didn't know I was such a sinner, you know.
Evil man, yeah.
Can you imagine? You know, so he went to the Ben Ish Chai, you know, he told him, he said, you know, that's what they're telling me in the dream. What should I do? Why did they go to him? Because he was bigger in Kabbalah. He knew these things.
Yeah,
you
he
understand?
understood.
He understood.
The secrets.
So you know what happened? The Ben Ish Chai gave him a plan, you know, like a work plan, a worksheet, you know, how to make a tikkun for this gilgul that he had. It was true. He really came from him.
That was really
He
cool.
himself was a tzaddik, you understand? But this guy was a big rasha. It happens, by the way. This is, you know, that's the tikkun. You know, you come back to fix
That's the
your
system.
problem. You know what I mean? That's the whole thing, right? So Ben Ish Chai told him how to make the tikkun because he knew Kabbalah. You understand? That's the way it works. Okay, let's get back to reality. Let's back to earth, right? Back to earth. Okay, so as we said, right, that so therefore, right, the rule is, as we said, right, very important to know that we always go like the batra. What does that mean? The rabbi of your generation, you know, whoever is closer to you, you know, closer to your generation, go like him because he's got that magic touch, you know, the special sauce for your generation. You know,
Right.
That's what it is. Don't look for the older generations and say, oh yeah, those guys were really great. You know, today we don't have anybody. It's not true. If you say like that, you're kind of like a, you know, heretic, you know. You don't believe that Hashem sent you somebody to give you halakha, but he made like a orphan generation, you know, Dor Yatom. No such a thing like that. No such a thing like that. Don't be, you know, don't deride yourself like that, thinking like that. It's not the proper.
We have nobody here.
I'm sorry?
We have.
We don't have anybody on that level, but it doesn't mean there's nobody knows how to pass halakha. There are people who know how to pass halakha. You know what I mean? So go to them and they'll tell you. You know what it is? When you go to somebody, right? Who's a posek, okay? And you ask him a question. He may not know the answer to your question, by the way. You know, he has to research, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is that since you asked him, Hashem helps him to get the answer. You know, he has siyata dishmaya, you know, Hashem helps him to find it. You know, that's the way it is, you know. So you have to believe in that. That's why, you know, there's such a concept in Torah, emunot chachamim. You have to believe in the rabbis, you know. If you don't believe in that, in the rabbis, You're a heretic, you should know. No, you don't believe that the rabbis can solve your problem? You're a heretic. Because it's based on that. Judaism is based on rabbinic teachings, that's the way it is. Rabbinic, tradition.
Passing the torch.
Yeah, passing the torch. Yeah. It's based on that. So once you uproot that, you're a reformed Jew, basically. That's what you are,
But it has to be
Go to the Reformed synagogue and go over there. That's what you are.
Church.
But like you said, it has to be from like a rabbi who's
Somebody who's trained in it. Yeah, of
Serious
course.
person, not somebody who's
Serious
hanging
person.
out,
Of course,
know?
of course. That's the whole thing,
It's like it-
Has to be somebody who's gadol, somebody who knows his stuff, whatever. Of course. Okay, let's go on.
Just remember the Reformed Temple. Remember when you were becoming, this is going back 25 years, and I asked you, Rabbi, is it okay if I go pray over there? Because my job is right next to it. So Rabbi goes, yeah, if you want to worship the devil, go ahead.
I think he's talking about the
The one next to the post office.
right. He's talking about the conservative place over there. What's that called? That place?
They're breaking it down.
Forest Hill Jewish
They're breaking
Center.
it down.
What is it called? that place?
Sephardic
No,
Jewish.
the Forest Hills.
The
on
center.
70
West Street.
70,
Yeah,
70.
No, by 71st, by the post
No,
office.
Queens
I'm not
Boulevard.
talking about
Oh,
What's that place called? I forgot. Whatever it's
They're breaking it down now.
Right.
They're breaking it down.
Yeah.
Such a
somebody bought
beautiful
it, yeah.
building like that.
They're destroying it.
Oh my God.
And you also told me, if you go there on Yom Kippur.
They have an organ. They use an organ. Yeah,
told me, Take some coffee and donuts with you.
All right, sounds good to me. Bring some over here also. Okay, so let's go on, right? As we said. Okay.
That's
ואפשר שמטעם זה השמיטו גם כן הוא, דתניא, הטעם פרק במה אישה יוצאת כשהוא חולץ. Am I in the right place here? Okay, so right. So it says like ואפשר שמטעם זה. So it says possible for this reason, right? השמיטו גם כן הדתניא. They also left out this writer, הטעם. It says over there, פרק במה אישה יוצאת in מסכת שבת. כשהוא חולץ משמאל. It says over there, when you take off your shoes, take off the left side. This is what it says. ואחר כך חולץ את ימין, and then you take off the right side. ולקה מאן דפליגלה, and there's nobody argues with this Gemara, So why didn't the poskim bring it down? Why didn't they bring it down? Because they don't hold by this. They think this is not halakha, this whole thing. In other words, the halakha is that we're not particular according to that opinion, even though it's not for us. It's not halakha. You understand? That's a different opinion. Okay, so it says. I'm sorry, you were saying something. Let's go on. So it says, because they hold, as we said, just like when it says you want to put on the right side, we don't care about that so much, we're not particular. And then do this left side. It means to say, if you want, you could do it. It's optional. So it says here also, that which tells you take off the left side first. The small dafka. It doesn't mean dafka, you have to be so particular. Right? You can do what you want, basically, whatever makes you comfortable,
So it's not a halacha.
According to that opinion, right?
not
Yeah.
literally speaking.
I'm sorry.
Not literally speaking.
What does that mean?
I mean, we just read that by left and by right, like you should do this way first, you that way first. Not like don't take it literally.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. No. Yeah, actually, we had a way to learn that. If you remember, when we started out, we said right that there's a way to learn that. In other words, you can do either way. Like it's
By the
optional.
first opinion.
Right. According to first opinion. Yes.
Right, okay.
It says right. If you want, take off this left side if you want. In other words, we have no problem with that. But Rabbeinu, the Torah that he holds, you should put on the right side first. Dafka shel yamin, it means like particularly, that first. Kamar. So according to him, that when it says taking off the left side, nami dafka, that's also very particular. So according to the Torah, everything is particular. You know what I mean? First the right, then the left, and then taking off the other way around.
He's particular.
Exactly. So it says Baran, here are some questions, about this. Some wonderment over here going on. Lama ishmito. So the question is, why those other poskim leave out this? I'm sorry, not the other poskim. Why did the Torah leave this out? In other words, he only wrote the part of putting it on, but taking it off, he didn't put that in.
Right, but he's particular.
You know what I mean? So there seems to be like some kind of contradiction there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay. You understand? That's the question that he asked. So it's possible to say, even though he explains that when you put on the right side, it's dafka the right side, only the right. Yamin mikol makom. My the katane choletz was small techila, but that which it says taking off the left side first, right? Lav dafka. That's not dafka. So it could be that he holds that one is dafka and the other one is not dafka. You understand? Putting it on is dafka. Taking it off is not dafka. Maybe he holds like that. That's
the
another
opinion.
opinion. Another way of approaching it. My the katane choletz is small techila. Lav dafka. So why? Because it also says over there something else, regarding right and left. Look what it says, right? That when it comes to bathing, okay, and when it comes to anointing, right? Today we don't do anointing, but bathing we do, right? We still take baths or showers, whatever, right? So regarding that, it says, right, you should wash your right side first. That's the rule, according to this Gemara. So in other words, when you're, let's say, taking a shower, right, put that thing on first your right hand.
Yeah.
And then the left. You know what I mean? That's the way, or also the feet, right? Same thing, right? First the right foot, then the left foot. Right? Do the right side first. That's what he's telling you, right? The small, the chila, but dafka. So it says, but then you have to ask a question: why is taking it off any different than putting it on? In other words, why would one be dafka and the other one be not dafka? Now, does that make any sense? Like, what's the logic of that? It says, Ela badai. So he says, that's not the way to learn it. In other words, it's flawed to say like that. Why would one be dafka and one would the other one not dafka? It doesn't make any sense. You have to either they're both are or they both are not. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. So therefore it says like this, right? It means like this. When you take off the left tchila, לא תמה, כי איך היא דנועל של ימין דווקא של ימין תחילה, אך אינם כשהוא חולץ של ימין תחילה, וטעמה משום דנעילה. I'm going to read this one more time. So it's like this. But די הכי כמה. So it says for sure this is what it means to say. אם רצה חולץ של שמאל. If you want, take off the left. תחילה. First take off the left. ולא תמה, and don't say, just like you put on the right side first, only the right side you should do first. So you may think, I should also take off the right side first. Just like I put them on with the right, I also take them off with the right.
Yeah.
There is a logic like that, right? Well,
Yeah, I mean, whenever you move forward, go back.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Do the same thing.
Yeah.
Be consistent,
Yeah.
Oh, there was also an Havamina like this, so therefore it says, right? כי איך דנועל של ימין, דווקא של ימין תחילה, רק אינם כשהוא חולץ של ימין תחילה, וטעמה משום דנעילה וחליצה, אחד המילים תהים. So why would you want to do it this way? Because he says it's really one concept. In other words, if you're honoring the right side, putting it on, you should also honor it when you're taking it off.
Yeah.
There's also a svara like this, some kind of a svara like this. So it's אחד המילים תהים.
I don't understand the svara because taking off, it's not honored.
Yeah, but in other words, if you're telling me, that I have a sequence, right, and everything I do, there's a sequence, right? I always honor the right side. So then honor your right side with everything you do, whatever it may be, right?
Right.
That's the svara. Sleep on it. In the morning you'll get it.
No, I get his side too.
Yeah, no, I understand him also.
You know what I mean? There's a rhythm. Like
I get that.
Right, left.
I'm just
left,
trying
right.
to explain to you what the Bet Yosef says. You know what I mean?
Of course.
That's what he's saying. Well, okay. I'm just following the dotted line.
Yeah, what they're saying. Yeah.
Whatever it says. Okay, so it says like this, right? We said this right, right? So it's always a beginning. In other words, beginning, always start with the right. Whatever you start with your right. Like there's an expression in Israel, over there in Israel, they say, when you start something, right? Did you start with your right foot or your left foot? Did you start the right way or the wrong way?
Yeah.
I mean, that's like an expression, Same thing, right? סופו של כל נועל, סופו של חלוץ, וכיוון שכבר הקדמנו הימין בתחילה, so it says, since you already started to honor the right side, הדבר דהיינו נעילה, putting it on, שוב אין כבדה, אם בסוף הדבר דהיינו חליצה הקדים לשמאל. So maybe the two holds, the reason why he didn't put the second halacha, he only put one. He didn't put taking it off, he just putting it on. Why is that? Because maybe he holds that we're only particular about putting it on, right? But then taking it off, we don't really care so much.
Right.
But it says, okay, now that was the opinion of the tour, right? That was the opinion of the tour. He pretty much, set it up. Now he's bringing a different opinion, right? Rabbeinu Yonah. The Sefer Ha'ira, it says over there, Rabbeinu Yonah, כתב שחולץ של שמאל תחילה. He does put that, you should take off first the left side. So it seems like he holds habraita kepashta, that he holds like the simple meaning of the braita. In other words, that you take off the left side. Davka. To show small tefillah, first the left side, Davka come on. So he says there's also a little bit of a illusion, right, regarding what this rabbi said. The Pasak Rabbeinu Kevatel, that Rabbeinu passing like him. So then how would you want to do both opinions? We already said, right? Since you're putting on the right side first, it's not like Rabbi Yochanan. He hadar v'katar d'smale b'resha. Then when he ties it, he does his left side. My have right? So then what difference does it make? V'yesh lomar de Rabbi Yochanan nameh. We should say that Rabbi Yochanan also lo amar le'akdim small techila. He didn't really say to do the left. Ela b'kshira, only regarding the tying, tying the places. Tafka the chashivut small to tefillin. Why? Because right, we're comparing tefillin. We tie the tefillin first, right? Tying. Just like the tefillin is tying, the shoe is also tying. So therefore, you correlate one with the other. You know, just like you tie the tefillin on the left side, also tie your left shoe first. Got it? That's the idea. Okay, so we're gonna go like 4 more minutes. ואפילו אם תמצא לומר, if you're going to tell me, even if you tell me that Rabbi Yochanan Sabar, Rabbi Yochanan holds, וגם בנעילה יש להקדים, that even regarding putting on the shoe, you should put first. Show small, the left side, if you can tell me like that, either way, כיוון שכל ראייתו, since all his proof was של Rabbi Yochanan, he מתפילין, he's taking it from tefillin, the whole thing. The חשיבותה is small, why? Because you're doing it on the left side, right? So since that's talking about tying, so therefore, since we're doing also the shoe, the left side tying it, therefore we're fulfilling that opinion as well. That's what Tosfot said also. So they said, right, we're going to this reason. Oh, there you go, right? Tosfot knew about me, right? He says, right, you loafer guys, right? Like you. So what do the loafer guys do like me, right? So he says, just put on the right side first. That's all you do. Right? You got nothing else to do with it.
That's the
What else are you
end
gonna
of
do?
Dalit.
I'm sorry.
Hey begins. So technically, if you want,
Right, that's the end of it. Yeah.
You want to
So
check.
let's do the Shulchan Aruch.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're done. Okay, we're
It's a long
done. So according to Tosfot, right, the loafer guys, they just put on the right side first. Thank God, they covered me also. You know?
The thing is that it's Dalit.
They thought about me too.
It's Dalit Hey put together.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So,
I
so
don't
you're
feel so
fine.
bad now. I thought I was a failure. You know?
No.
Okay.
So basically, because you wear loafers, you disqualified from the second part.
Right, second part doesn't apply to me. You know. Okay, whatever. We're all covered. We're all
But
covered.
this is just the.
We all have the insurance policy.
This is not the halacha yet. This is just the number.
Right, but you see, here's the thing, right? That in the Beit Yosef, right? Yonatan asked me about this, by the way. How do you really know what the halacha is in the Beit Yosef? Sometimes it's not so
You can
clear,
see
you know?
already,
Right, that's the trend, you know? Like he's trending
He's
certain
leading
side.
you.
Right,
He's leading
exactly.
you somewhere.
Yeah, so
He's a good author.
if you're sharp, you have
Yeah, you
experience,
catch
you know
it.
how to figure that out, what that means.
Yeah.
I mean, but you should look in the Shulchan Aruch anyway.
Yeah,
Okay,
of
let's look at
course.
it. Let's look at it.
No,
Let's go to Shulchan Aruch. What are we doing? Dalit?
Dalit.
Dalit, right? Okay.
Not hey, we didn't do yet.
Okay. It's together, right? He's
No,
right.
but the hey, but you said we didn't do yet.
I think we did it. So it's all one. It was together. You understand?
How?
It's like glued together. You know, one package. You can't separate them.
No, the hey is a subsection right here.
Okay, we'll figure it out. Don't worry.
The Bet Yosef new one was this weekend.
I see. Okay.
This is Bet
Yeah,
Yosef.
so he's right.
He's been learning one for like 6 months already, so
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
figuring it out already. We'll figure it out.
Pick this guy up, exposes the.
Okay, God bless. Go.
So I'll
See you next
guys.
week.
Yeah, see you next
Come
week.
Sunday if you don't come. Yeah, come
Yeah.
if you have time.
Friday, Saturday?
If you're not working,
Right,
Sunday to Thursday we're here.
yes.
Okay, God bless. All the best. Have a good weekend. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
What hey?
Nissan,
Ah.
calm down.
We're just here for 2 more minutes, David. 2 more minutes. We're here. That's it.
What are you doing?
Just reading the Shulchan Aruch.
Two laws quickly.
Yeah. Shulchan Aruch and we're done. Okay. Give me 1 second. You got it. Okay. So it says like this, right? Tov me'at. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna, what, I just read Gimel. What was I doing?
No.
I'm sorry. No, I'm in the wrong siman. 1 second, Mechila. Okay, so we're doing Dalet?
Yes.
Okay, so Dalet says, in all min al yamin tchila. First do the right side, put on the right side first, the shoe. Don't tie it. In all shel small. Then put on the left side, and then tie it, right, in order to fulfill both fingers, right? Both sides. Rabbi Yochanan and the Braita, right? We got both sides there. Come on. Right? And then you tie the right side. So says the Rama, with Miriam Shadano, She'enayim Kishira. There you go, right? So the Rama also loves me. It says we got loafers, European guys, These European guys are very cool guys, No shoelaces, They're very swab people, savoir-faire. So it says like this, She'enayim Kishira in all shel yamin tchila. So again, right, he brings the Tosfot, right? If you don't have any laces, do first the right side, and that's it. You're done, right? Okay. As we said, now let's go to the next one, and we're done. Right? 30 more seconds, David. Okay. So it says, "Keshacholetz min alav." When you take off the shoe, choletz small tchila. Take off the left side first. That's what it is, right? That's okay. Chazak Baruch. Shabbat shalom. God bless you. See you next week, Sunday night.
This only applies to people who wear shoes.
So if you're wearing Kanye shoes, Adidas, you got to do this that way. Make sure you do with Kanye shoes. Okay, thanks everybody on Zoom for coming. See you, Shabbat shalom. God bless you.
Oh wait, Rabbi.
God bless you.
Wait, no, don't log off.
I'm sorry?
You are obligated to put the right first.
Of course.
Can you hear my?
Yes, I hear you. I'm sorry. Wait, we have.
Okay, I have a good question, and it's a little bit off of the topic, but I wanted to know, how does the Kabbalah view zodiac signs? Because I've noticed that there's in there, but there's also the pagan nation that uses it a different way.
Right.
So what's the difference in that?
It's a very good question what you're asking. So the truth is, that there is also a zodiac system that brought down the Talmud, and it seems to totally contradict the zodiac that we have today. So it seems like the zodiac today is maybe perhaps not so accurate, right? Not really relevant so much.
Okay.
That's what it seems. According to my humble opinion, I think the zodiac today is erroneous, probably somewhat.
Okay. So it's like something that we don't really use.
Yeah,
then
don't
in
waste your time.
Judaism.
Don't waste your time with that stuff.
Okay, I
There's
will.
other things to do.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Bye.
You know why son?
Tov.
Because Daniel's girlfriend's Italian.